Hey yo everybody, it is Voltage and we are back with this week's review of Dragon Ball Daima, episode 4, Chatty. So, episode 4, there's actually a lot here. I went into this thinking we were not going to have that much content to talk about, and boy was I mistaken. So let's go ahead and dive right in. You clicked on this thumbnail, or not this thumbnail, on this video, likely because the title immediately if you haven't been watching weekly, and that's Fusion. I'm not going to waste your time. Let's talk about what I mean by fusion. So, they have been setting up fusion to happen in Daima. I would say it is almost all but confirmed that we are going to have fusion occur. Whether that's going to be a Daima Vegito or Gogeta, or based on this, a third fusion. I think they may have a whole new name, or we're going to see a fusion between other characters that aren't Goku and Vegeta. Here's the, so you guys saw it, right? You should have seen the episode by now. I'm going to go into spoilers from here on forward. More specifically, let's go ahead. 3, 2, 1. Okay. So they introduced this new concept. Now, Dragon Ball Daima, to me, strongly feels like what I'd imagine a D&D campaign to be like. And that's, it's well, I know what a D&D campaign is, but I mean what I'd imagine a D&D campaign in Dragon Ball to be like more specifically. We have had so much that's so reminiscent of D&D in here, and just a fantasy journey, which Daima is clearly inspired to be like. And that's where we get introduced to these creatures called med bugs, I believe is the translation. There are specific names for them, like Achichi bugs and Zutsu bugs, but I believe they were called med bugs. And what these bugs do, they're basically an item mechanic. Some of them are for burn, some of them are for headaches, some of them are for stamina. Goku points out how one of them is pretty much like a sensu bean. Oh, they're called metabugs, excuse me, they're metabugs. And he points out that one of them is just like sensu beans because they heal your stamina. And there's another one, which, interestingly enough, I hope I can get this picture up on screen. If I can't at the time, it's okay. The fusion bugs, they are, so you take each a bug and two people eat them and they fuse together. However, the sign of the bugs does not show two people fusing. It shows 3 people fusing into one person. So it is very possible the bugs work to fuse more than 2 people together. So we could see a 3-way fusion or something of the like over this series. Insane that they introduced that. This is clear foreshadowing, and the reason I back that up is not only do they show off the fuse bugs, but Goku asked Glorio, or Galero, because he forgot his name, he asked him to buy the bugs, and it's shown that Goku bought the bugs. Now though, let's talk about this. Even though the bugs are shown to be able to fuse more than 2 people together, Goku brought 2 of the fusion bugs specifically. He brought a number of the other ones, but he brought 2 of the fusion ones, at least that we can see spilling out of his pouch. Maybe he has more hidden, but they specifically show us he bought 2 of them, which seems to imply we'll be getting a 2-way fusion sometime in the future, which I am more than excited to see. I'll tell you that right now. So that's fusion, but that's not all this episode had going for it, but that's what they've been talking about. Let me ask you 2 things for you guys watching so far. First question. Who do you think is going to fuse in Daima? What's your guesses? We know the main cast of about 6, which you see in the ending credit, which is Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, Glorio, Panchi, or something like that, and Supreme Kai, I believe is all of them. Yeah, Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, Glorio, Panchi, Supreme Kai. That's our main one. Then you can throw in Bulma, but obviously Bulma's not fusing, right? But of those 6, or 7 if you're counting Bulma, who do you think is going to fuse? Should we see a fusion in Daima? Let me know in the comments down below. And second, do you like this format where I'm talking, you have my little saying guy up there, you have a few pictures from the episode being shown off while we talk about this? Do you like this format, or do you want to see something specific change? Let me know in the comments down below. Anyway, now that we've had a few episodes of this, let's get into the other lore, because there are a few other things I want to talk about concerning Daima this week that I thought were phenomenally awesome. Let's just say that. This was actually a way better episode than I expected. I was wondering where episode 4 was going, and they impressed me to no end. So we get a few other bits of lore. First off, in the demon world, it's hard to fly to get anywhere by normal flight because the air is so heavy. We learned about the air being heavy in previous episodes. That means you can't really fly like on Earth. You need planes or other transportation, which gave Toriyama, I think, a chance to really get creative with travel, which I think was a very nice, charming strength of Daima. We'll talk more about the travel in a bit. We get the Sea of Darkness again, which I thought was pretty interesting, just a mysterious place. We get to see Glorio whoop the ass of a monster. Glorio went crazy on there. They're really giving him good fight scenes. every time I see Glorio throw some actual hand instead of firing that gun, he grows on me. He does know that smoke. And we actually get kind of a hint at how strong Glorio is, which I was very interested on power scaling. We do not know how much weaker or stronger Goku, Vegeta, and the others who were shrunk actually got. We have no clue where their strength is because we have not heard them be compared to anyone, including their original selves yet. But Glorio is stated by Goku to possibly be stronger than Supreme Kai. Now, we don't know if he's talking about shrunken Supreme Kai or about adult Supreme Kai, but given we haven't seen the shrunken Supreme Kai fight, my guess is he's talking about adult Supreme Kai. And so that means Glorio would demolish Frieza, let that sink in, Z Frieza, by the way, Namek Frieza. He would demolish Frieza, and he's weaker than Cell, given that Supreme Kai is weaker than Deborah, but he's in the ballpark, somewhere around the androids, Goku, Vegeta, like Super Vegeta, Super Trunks, all around there. I feel like Glorio probably places somewhere in that range, which to me seems kind of viable, but is also pretty crazy given Deborah was the king of the Demon Realm. It doesn't necessarily mean the strongest, but he was the king, and he was basically Cell level, if not a little bit weaker. So Glorio seems to be under Deborah, but close to Deborah in strength, which is pretty impressive, all things considered, especially given this is not like in Super where it's been a long time. This is a year, or I think it was 6 months after the Buu Saga ended. It's been 6 months. So yeah, pretty crazy, but I was very curious. Now, there is a chance, though, that he's referring to shrunken Supreme Kai, which would make Glorio a lot weaker, more than likely, than he was before. But if we're highballing it, Glorio is around that level of the Cell Saga, like late tier Cell Saga. If we're lowballing it, I'm imagining he's still stronger than Frieza, but he's probably below the androids is my guess. They're probably around stronger than Frieza level, question mark? Hard to say. But yeah, I thought that was fun because I'm sure people have been wondering, just like me, how strong is Glorio? There's our first hint. We get some more action for some flexing, you know, random encounters and stuff. And speaking of Glorio's power, we do get another point I want to touch on, which is about Ki. So, the Demon Realm, at least Glorio specifically, but I want to imagine the Demon Realm, does not know what Ki is, which is interesting to me because if I remember correctly, Frieza and his soldiers know what the term Ki is. I believe that Vegeta knew what Ki was, so do the Saiyans, even though it wasn't an Earth thing. So apparently Ki is a universal term. So, but Glorio does not know what Ki is. He is not aware of its existence, and he doesn't know how Goku sensed Ki, so they don't know. Now, we do know Frieza could not sense Ki, but we do know Frieza was able to fire off Ki. Vegeta couldn't sense it either, but he could use it. He could use Gallic Gun. Frieza has Death Beam. So they could use those things, and they still referred to it as Ki, but they did not understand the concept of sensing Ki. Glorio is different. Not only can he not sense Ki, I think that's why he uses the gun. I don't think he can even control Ki. He must have an understanding of it internally, but not externally. Is this a Demon Realm thing, or is this a Glorio thing? Based on the way Supreme Kai says it, he explains that Goku can sense an invisible sort of energy. Now, I know Supreme Kai knows what Ki is, and he has used it in the show, but did he learn about Ki after leaving the Demon Realm and becoming a Supreme Kai, or did he know about it before that? I'm curious whether Ki is just a non-existent term in the Demon Realm, which I believe Glorio and Supreme Kai are implying that the Demon Realm does not know what Ki is to an even more level of ignorance than Frieza, which I find interesting given the strength we've seen so far. So those are some of the coolest points up front. We talked about the fusion bugs. You know, we can see some dishes that Goku is eating. We get to see the shop, which I think was a very fun interaction. The bugs being a mechanic are super fun. Transportation, I talked about being interesting, is this little like Q-tip looking seed cannon thing basically launches them a distance and then they fall off and it kind of cuts their trip a little bit in a fun way. I thought that was just cool. There's not much to say on it, but it's a cool fantasy mechanic. I'm telling you, Toriyama must have been playing some D&D or something when he came up with this, because this is so strong in the D&D fantasy department. It is crazy. And it was a very fun little scene there when they jump off and all the rest of the way. Supreme Kai doesn't like bugs, funny enough. And interestingly enough as well, Goku and Glorio talk about their plan, and we knew this was coming. Everybody knew the more we mentioned the Dragon Balls and the Tanagami that Goku was gonna want to go get the Dragon Balls or really fight the Tamagamis. And that's exactly what happens. Goku realizes that he just wants to get the Dragon Balls. More of that kid side, fun-seeking side comes out, but Supreme Kai reminds him about Dende. But that's where Goku says, well, let's go fight the Tamagamis and get the Dragon Balls, and we can wish ourselves back to adults to save Dende, which was interesting. Of course, when Supreme Kai does mention, though, we gotta save Dende, Goku understands he may have to back down, but he's still trying to get this to work, right? He's still trying to be like, hey, is there a way we can still do it? The Tamagamis are in the opposite direction of where they started, but Glorio is on the side of going to get the Dragon Balls, because what if Dende gets killed or he can't be found? They can use the Dragon Balls to get Dende while also being able to use the Earth Dragon Balls to turn them back to normal, because Dende will still be alive. So that's, pretty interesting, right? Pretty interesting on their decision. However, Supreme Kai and Glorio do have a moment where, like I mentioned last week, Supreme Kai does not trust Glorio. He does not. And they have a stare down once again, and Supreme Kai concedes, but he does not trust Glorio. That much is clear, but he goes along with it. So, their journey sets off, and we get to the final chunk of this episode, very content-filled, as you can tell. This is the longest review yet. And at the very end, we get these guards who are working for King Goma. We've seen their art before, their goons working for him, and they're basically upping the price of taxes, as kings do. It's a very classic scene. They're upping taxes, but the twist is, if you can't pay taxes, you lose your lifespan. So all the people who live under the Demon King have collars around their neck, and they can't run because then the collars will stop them and pull them back. And if they can't pay the coins, they're hooked up to a machine that looks like a lava lamp, and their life force is drained out of them for 3 years per coin that they're short, or 10 years if you try to run. Old man or not, they don't care, even if you're perhaps going to die. Goku's watching this, and he does not like it, and he jumps out to help eventually, which may sound familiar. But all of a sudden, another character shows up, and that character is the one who tries to attack the guards, tries to use a wasabi bomb, that fails, and tries to use a taser, which works, but can't get away from all these guards, gets caught. Right when they're about to be stopped by force, that's where Goku jumps in and bodies all the guards in base. So these dudes are just goons that Goku can throttle easily, even in his shrunken self. He wipes the floor with them all and realizes he even went too far whooping ass. That's our Goku. That is our Goku, man. So he went to work. They stopped this, and in case this scene sounds familiar to you, what I thought of when I watched it, like father, like son. Gohan on Namek, when he was watching the Namekians get killed, it wasn't as brutal with the Namekians getting killed. These guys weren't dying per se, but they're having years off their lifespan. But the two of them were forced to watch injustice for what should have been smarter. Like Glorio said, they should have been found. But just like Gohan on Namek, Goku cannot sit by and watch this injustice before his eyes. I love the mirroring between them looking at this, because I told you guys multiple times, this arc feels very reminiscent of Namek with some changes. It's kind of like what the filler tried to do by making the universe a little more explorative, except it sucked in the Namek arc, if you remember from this, the anime. And then Namek itself was very high tense without much exploration at all. While now we're kind of getting a mix of both worlds. So like Toriyama's trying to kind of like correct maybe what he wanted more out of the Namek arc, have a mix of the action exploration like he enjoys and the comedy and all that stuff. And Goku's a fugitive. The girl who they saved, the masked warrior, reveals herself to be Pansy or Panchi. I don't remember her name. I think it's in the next episode. Her name is Pansy. So her name is Pansy. She's going to be in the next episode. It's going to be about her, and we have a lot to look forward to for next week. So this has been the longest review so far, but I hope you enjoyed it, man. There was a lot to talk about. Leave a like if you did, comment your thoughts down below, and of course subscribe if you want to see more. We are at the tip of 300 subscribers. I can't wait. I hope we hit it soon. And then we'll be pushing toward 500 is still our like overarching big goal for the next milestone. So I can't wait. Closing thoughts. Great episode. Way better than I expected. I expected there to be like a slower week coming up. I really did think this episode was going to be slower, and it was way better than I expected. So many new lore drops and opportunities upcoming, so I'm very excited to see what awaits us in our future of Daima. In any case, I'll see you guys next week for the next review. Let me know your thoughts down below, of course. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see y'all then for episode 5. Voltage out.